My fiancé ghosted me 2 weeks before our wedding, so I planned something she'll never forget. 2 weeks before my wedding, she vanished. No text, no goodbye, just gone. People told me to cancel everything, but I didn't. Instead, I turned that wedding day into closure ceremony. Not a celebration of love, but a farewell to betrayal. And when she saw what I did, she finally understood who she'd really lost. If someone had told me I'd be sleeping alone 2 weeks before my wedding, I would have laughed. At that time, life felt perfect. Scarlett and I had spent months planning every little detail from the flowers to the first dance song. Every morning started with her excited messages about guest lists, decorations, or honeymoon spots. Then one morning, she just stopped replying. At first, I thought it was nothing serious. People get busy. Maybe she was stressed with last-minute wedding tasks. I sent her a message, no reply. I called her phone, went straight to voicemail. A day passed, then 2, then 5. By the end of the week, the silence felt deafening. I wasn't just anxious anymore, I was scared. The woman I was supposed to marry had completely vanished. Friends kept asking, "Is Scarlett okay?" The vendors called to confirm details. The venue manager wanted final payment, and I was there, standing alone, with a ring and 1,000 unanswered questions. The wedding invitations were already out. My suit was ready. The world thought we were about to say, "I do." But the truth was, I didn't even know where she was, or if she still wanted to marry me at all. And the worst part? I didn't see it coming. Not even a little. Because when you love someone that deeply, your heart refuses to believe they could just disappear. Each day without her reply felt heavier. I'd wake up to an empty screen, scroll through old texts, just to hear her voice in my head. "Good morning, my love. Can't wait to be your wife." Now, nothing. I started calling her friends, her family. Everyone gave me the same confused answer. We haven't heard from her either. Her phone was off, her apartment dark, her social media accounts untouched. At night, I sat in the apartment we had decorated together, staring at the wedding vision board we'd pinned on the wall. Every photo, every dream, now looked like a cruel joke. Sam, my best friend, dropped by one evening with takeout and concern written all over his face. "Man, this isn't just cold feet," he said quietly. "Something's off." I nodded, though my chest felt hollow. I kept imagining scenarios, accidents, emergencies, anything that could make sense of the silence. But deep down, a darker thought started whispering. What if she didn't want to be found? By the 10th day, that whisper became a scream. And yet, part of me still waited, still believed she'd call and say, "I'm sorry, Elijah. It was a mistake." But she didn't. The night before our 2-week mark, I sat in bed holding the engagement ring she'd chosen, and, for the first time, I wondered if love can really vanish overnight, or if it just hides behind lies waiting to be uncovered. The morning of day 11, Sam stormed into my apartment, phone in hand. "Bro, we need to talk," he said. "And you're not gonna like it." He showed me Scarlett's social media. Everything had been wiped clean. Her profile picture gone, relationship status hidden, every photo of us deleted. My stomach twisted. "She blocked me?" I whispered. Sam sighed. "Looks that way. And there's more." He pulled up Henry Blake's account, Scarlett's ex, a man she once swore was just history. His latest post was a photo of a coastline, a familiar coastline, the same resort Scarlett had once said was her dream honeymoon destination. And in the corner of the picture, barely visible, was her bracelet, the one I gave her last Christmas. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. Sam exhaled sharply. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to believe it either." I didn't say anything. I just stared at the screen until my eyes burned. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't cold feet. She didn't vanish, she ran. She ran to him. For days I had blamed myself, wondering what I'd done wrong. But now, there was no confusion left. Just clarity, the kind that stings like ice when it hits. Sam placed a hand on my shoulder. "You can't fix this one, Elijah. Don't chase her." I nodded slowly, but my mind was already elsewhere. Not on chasing her, on making sure she never forgot what she threw away. That night, I got a message from her maid of honor, Lisa. "Hey Elijah, I don't know if you've heard, but Scarlett's gone back to Henry." I stared at the text for a long time, reading it over and over. Lisa went on. "She said she needs to figure things out. She told me not to tell you, but you deserve to know." I didn't reply. I just sat there in silence, heart pounding, memories replaying like broken glass. The promises, the laughter, the words forever, whispered against my skin. And now she was figuring things out with another man. I went to our wedding folder on my laptop, the one filled with deposits, receipts, and plans, and started canceling everything. Venue, cancelled. Florist, cancelled. Caterer, cancelled. Each confirmation email felt like closing a door behind me. But when I reached the video team, something made me stop. An idea sparked sharp, simple, poetic. If she wanted to disappear quietly, fine, but I wasn't going to let her rewrite the story. Because sometimes, silence deserves an answer, and mine was going to be unforgettable. 2 days later, I drove to the wedding venue. The staff greeted me with soft smiles, unaware of the storm beneath my calm. Here to finalize details? One asked kindly. Something like that, I said. The hall was breathtaking. White roses lined the aisle, sunlight spilling through arched windows. I stood at the altar, picturing her walking toward me. The music, the vows, the moment our lives were supposed to begin. Then I imagined her laughing in someone else's arms on that same day. And just like that, the dream shattered. I took out my phone, opened the note app, and typed something simple. The wedding is still happening, but the bride's not invited. I didn't know exactly what my plan was yet, but I knew this. Scarlett Hayes would never forget the day she ghosted Elijah Moore, because I was about to turn her silence into the loudest message she'd ever receive. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It just sits there, calm and steady, waiting to become something else. That's what I felt after the venue visit. Not anger, not heartbreak, just a quiet, measured rage, the kind that makes you plan instead of cry. I didn't post anything online. I didn't message Scarlett or Henry. I just watched the world move on while I stayed still. Everyone kept asking, "Is the wedding still happening?" I smiled and said, "Oh yes, it is." They didn't need to know the details yet. That night, I opened my laptop again. I rebooked the photographer, the video team, and the event planner. Same date, same time, same venue. But the purpose? Completely different. I wasn't going to throw a tantrum or expose her out of bitterness. No, I wanted the truth to speak for itself. I wanted to reclaim the narrative. Sam noticed the shift in me. "You sure about this?" he asked. I nodded. She wanted to disappear like I didn't exist. I'm just going to remind her that I do. He didn't press further. He just looked at me proud, maybe a little scared, and said, "Then let's make it unforgettable." That night, as I drifted off to sleep, I whispered the words that would define what came next. Not revenge, closure. But deep down, I knew. Sometimes the two looked the same. Over the next few days, I worked like a man possessed. Every vendor that had once been booked for our wedding got a call from me. The florist, keep the flowers. Same arrangement. The caterer, serve the food, but fewer guests this time. The DJ, no love songs. Just keep the playlist slow and elegant. They all sounded confused, but I didn't offer explanations. I invited only a handful of people, the ones who deserved the truth. Family, close friends, and those who'd seen my pain up close. Sam helped me set everything up. When I told him my idea for the event, he just shook his head, smiling. "You're a genius. This isn't revenge. This is poetry." I laughed for the first time in weeks. It felt good, strange, but good. I spent the final night before the wedding editing something important. A short video, not a speech, not an outburst, just the truth. Photos, screenshots, a few text exchanges, and the final slide that said, "This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but some lessons come wearing white." When I hit save, I didn't feel bitter. I felt ready. The big day arrived. The sun was shining, just like the forecast predicted. I wore my suit, the same one I'd planned to wear for her. When guests arrived, confusion filled the air. No bridesmaids, no ceremony music, no Scarlett. My mother hugged me, teary-eyed. "Are you sure about this, Elijah?" I smiled softly. Completely. The chairs were half filled, the people who mattered most, the ones who didn't leave when she did. When everyone was seated, I walked to the center of the aisle. There were whispers, murmurs, awkward glances. I cleared my throat and said, "Thank you all for coming. I know you expected a wedding, and in a way, this still is one, a union between truth and closure." The projector behind me flickered to life, and then the video began. The first slide was a photo of Scarlett and me smiling, holding hands. The caption, 2 weeks before forever. Then came the texts, the unanswered messages, the call logs, the ghosting, gasps, echoed through the hall. Then, a photo of the coastline, the one Henry had posted. The zoom-in showed her bracelet. Murmurs turned into silence. People leaned forward. The room grew heavy with realization. Finally, the screen faded to black, and the last message appeared. "To the woman who disappeared, thank you. You didn't ruin my life. You reminded me that real love doesn't run away." I stood there quietly, letting it sink in. No rage, no bitterness, just truth. When the lights came back on, people began clapping, not the kind of applause you give a show, but the kind you give someone who survived something painful with grace. Sam came up, hugged me, and whispered, "You did it, man. You really did it." And for the first time since Scarlett left, I actually believed him. After the event, everyone stayed behind, not to gossip, but to support. My parents hugged me tight. My friends raised glasses. And for once, I wasn't the heartbroken groom. I was the man who turned heartbreak into power. Later that evening, my phone started blowing up. Screenshots of the event were already online. People called it the wedding that never was. It spread fast photos of me at the altar, the final message on the screen. Most comments were supportive. This man handled pain with class. She ghosted the wrong person. Respect. Of course, not everyone saw it that way. Some called it petty. Others said it was over the top. But I didn't care, because that day wasn't about revenge, it was about release. Scarlett didn't show up, but I knew she'd seen it. The silence on her end said more than any message ever could. That night, as I sat in my empty apartment, suit jacket on the chair beside me, I smiled, because I realized something no heartbreak could take away. You can't control how people love you, but you can control how you let them leave. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to hundreds of messages. Some were from friends and family, proud, supportive, touched. Others were from strangers who'd seen clips online, saying things like, "You handled pain with elegance." But one message stood out. It was from an unknown number. "You didn't have to do that, Scarlett." I stared at the screen for a long moment before locking my phone. I didn't reply, not because I hated her, but because there was nothing left to say. She'd written her ending. I'd just shown the world what silence looked like. Later that week, Sam came over with 2 coffees. He grinned and said, "You broke the internet, man." I laughed. That wasn't the goal. He nodded knowingly. "Maybe not, but you found peace, and that's rarer than revenge." We toasted to that. By the end of the month, the noise started fading. The posts slowed down. People moved on. And for the first time in a long time, so did I. Heartbreak doesn't disappear overnight. It fades in pieces, a memory here, a habit there, until one day it stops hurting to remember. That was me. Not healed, but finally heading there. 3 months later, she came back. I heard the knock before I saw her face. When I opened the door, Scarlett stood there, pale, nervous, clutching a letter. "Elijah, can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. She looked around the apartment, her eyes landing on the empty shelf where our wedding photos were supposed to be. "I saw the video," she whispered. "Everyone did." Her voice cracked. "I deserved it." She sat on the edge of the couch, fidgeting with her hands. "I thought Henry was what I needed. I thought I'd made a mistake with you." But he left 2 weeks later. I didn't say anything. I just let her speak. Tears slid down her cheeks as she said, "You didn't deserve what I did to you." And seeing how you handled it made me realize how small I really was. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Scarlett," I said softly, "you didn't just ghost me. You buried us. And sometimes, what's gone shouldn't be dug up again." She nodded, trembling. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." And for the first time, I believed her. But I also knew forgiveness didn't mean return. After she left, I found the vow book I'd written months ago. It was tucked inside a drawer, unopened since the day she disappeared. I sat by the window, flipped through it, and started reading aloud to the empty room. "Scarlett, I promise to love you, even on the days when love feels quiet. I promise to choose you not because it's easy, but because you're worth it." I paused. The irony hit hard. She wasn't worth it, but the man I'd become because of her pain was. I closed the book, took a deep breath, and smiled. Then I whispered the ending I never got to say at the altar. "I release you with love, but without return." That moment felt holy. Not religious, but sacred. The kind of peace you can't buy, only earn. I didn't burn the vow book or throw it away. I put it back in the drawer, not as a memory of her, but as a reminder of me, of who I was when I still believed in forever. Months passed. Life became quiet again, not lonely, just peaceful. I started writing not vows, but stories about love, loss, betrayal, and the strange beauty of letting go. Each page felt like healing. One day, Sam dropped by with a grin. "There's someone you should meet," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "Is this a setup?" He laughed. "Just coffee. No vows involved." Her name was Clara. Soft-spoken, kind eyes, the type who listens more than she talks. There was no spark like lightning. No dramatic music, just warmth. And maybe that's what real love is supposed to feel like. We started slow. No rush, no expectations. For the first time, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just present. Scarlett became a closed chapter. Not forgotten, just finished. And in that silence, I finally found myself again. Exactly 1 year later, I stood at another altar. Same city, different venue, fewer guests, but the ones who mattered most. Sam stood beside me as best man again, grinning. "Round 2, huh?" I chuckled. "No, this is the first real one." When the music started, Clara walked down the aisle, calm, glowing, real. There were no grand gestures, no perfect filters, just truth. As she reached me, I took her hand and whispered, "Thank you for showing me that love doesn't run." We exchanged vows, not promises of perfection, but of patience and peace. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," I realized something powerful. The best revenge isn't public, it's private happiness that no one can take away. And as I looked out at the quiet crowd, I thought of Scarlett one last time, not with anger, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because her silence gave me the loudest lesson of my life. Never chase the one who leaves. Build a life so peaceful, they'll hear your happiness from afar.